Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed your refreshments, and kindly make your way back into the hall as we will be resuming our program shortly. Please take your seats and we'll begin in a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I hope we are all ready for the second session, where we'll dive into the topic Amplifying Research Impact Through Strategic Analytics. And before we begin, allow me to introduce our amazing speaker, Professor Technologist Dr. Aida Mustafa. Prof. Aida holds degrees in computer science and artificial intelligence from institutions in the United States and Malaysia. She currently serves as Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Innovation at University Malaysia Pahang Al Sultan Abdullah, and she also leads Academy Intellect Done Data Analytic, a Microsoft certified training academy. She has authored over 450 publications in areas such as data mining, soft computing, and natural language processing, particularly related to Quranic texts. She is also the chief editor for the Journal of Quranic Sciences and research and actively contributes to various national and international technology and research associations. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Technologies Dr. Aida Mustafa.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. My name is Aida Mustafa and I am the Navigator for Research and Innovation at UMPSA. I have with me our key strategist, Prof. Chong, who prepared all the analysis. So I hope that if there is any question on how, we can direct to Prof. Chong instead. I'll talk about the strategies. Now, UMPSA, we just celebrated our 23rd anniversary this year. We are the 16th public university in Malaysia. We are located in Pekan, Pahang. We actually have two campuses, one in Pekan. I am based in Pekan and we have another campus at Gambang. We are part of M2 Network, Malaysia Technical University Network. We focus on engineering and our niche area is advanced processing and automotive. Now, a little bit about UMPSA. Our academicians is not that many. We have around 700 headcounts with around 18,000 students. And our document count currently stands at 70,000 only, with 6,000 authors, which mainly comes from our collaborators, including international collaborators. We have been using Cyber for the past 5 years, back and forth to KPT to get the access. And we are proud to announce that we are now the first public university to subscribe Cyber as of this year. We started with Cyber for the reporting capability because of the granularity of the reports that we can get or obtain from Cyber. At the highest level is the institutional impact. Normally at UMPSA, we do not go for counts of documents, but we are really focusing on impact because we strive to put ourselves ahead among other universities in Malaysia, and we are still trying. So mostly we focus on citation count, citation per publication, and currently our field-weighted citation impact is 19% over world average. We also use the reporting to measure our faculty impact. We have a total of 8 faculties, 4 in Pekan and 4 in Gambang. And for the purpose of this presentation, we have chosen Faculty of Chemical and Process Engineering Technology. Again, similar, we use the same metrics to measure and to compare among the faculty members. At the next level, we go to the group impact. AIT is Advanced Industrial Technology Group. It is one of our 8 Center of Excellence at UMPSA. We can see the output, the citation count, citation per publication, and the FWCI is 33% above the world average. And finally, we also go for individual impact. Again, this is for the purpose of reporting. For this example, we use our homegrown expert, Prof. Rizalman Mamat, who is currently stands with 18,000 citations with H-index 78, and he is only the 3rd on the list. Okay. How do we use further? How do we use Cyber more than just reporting? We have looked into our pre-COVID era, and we have seen the standing is not really good. We get Cyber analysis for UMPSA between 2019 to 2021 as the impact of lockdown, and the publication rate has been going down, and I believe this is the same for all other institutions due to limited access to labs and facilities, travel restriction, And because we are concentrating, or most of our research is on chemical engineering, we had also experience with disruptions with our supply chains as well. Again, funding constraint, it's not that the university do not wish to invest during this time, but rather taking a step back and see and re-strategize to where the funding or the resources should be allocated on. Now, how do we go from here? Number one, we always want to go for international collaboration. And in this journey, in this session, I will share you 4 case studies that we have of how we use cyber in order to achieve justice. Now, for the first case study, it is to curate cross-border partnership. Usually the idea comes from the top management. We have this ranking like this. Now how do we go to this? And they will come to me, and I will go to Chong, to Prof. Chong. Okay. So this analysis was done, I think 3 years back. Prof. Chong came out with cyber analysis of UMPSA publications between 2015 to 2021. This is pre-COVID, with a total of 8,988 publications. And from this publication, we identified what are the top 100 topics. For the purpose of this sharing, we use the first one, enhancing thermal conductivity with nanofluids. But in fact, we do iterate the same process to all other topics. Now, the justification of whether we want to go in and invest in that topic will depend on 2 things. Number one, do we have experts? Do we have the expert that is already in some entity like Center of Excellence? Do we have that to match? Number 2, do we have access to funding? Do we have capacity for internal funding that we can invest into such collaboration? And at UMPSA, as much as we do give internal funding for our researchers, we focus more on matching. Per year, we easily allocate around 1 million for international matching and twice of that for industry matching. Now, from the topic that has been identified, enhancing thermal conductivity with nanofluids, we found out that from the total of 2,885 publications are originated from the Asia-Pacific region. Then we map, Prof. Chong will map, from this paper, 17 Asia-Pacific countries has been contributed. So identify these countries, as shown in the slide, and then we choose 4 countries. From the 17 Asia-Pacific countries, 4 neighboring countries were selected due to our limited capacity of funding, because this will include traveling and all. So we identified the top 50 institutions to initiate collaboration. And this is a top-down strategy. So we identified India, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. So the outcome, post-COVID until now, we have Memorandum of Understanding and Agreement. We have signed with 32 institutions. We have managed to secure 100 international grants at the value of 1.98 million, and we have 88 collaborating papers together. The second one, if the previous case study was more to a strategic decision from my office to the researchers, but this case study is bottom up. How do we encourage, how do we use cyber to design what are the next course of actions for our researchers? So two research group from mechanical engineering. We have Professor Dr. Rozaimi as well as Dr. Noor Azlani. These are individual research groups, and they are not part of Center of Excellence. But they came to us and they said, we would like to venture into alloy solidification dynamics, and they're looking for international collaborations. Most of the time, we have researchers come to our office and to do many things. And the first question that we would ask is, in which area that you are lacking on, which in this case is international collaboration. Some might lack on grants, some lacks on commercialization, some lacks of innovation consultation, and we do have a separate scheme, a separate carrot for every types of research and innovation works under our roof. So going back to this story, CIBER was used to analyze publication record from 2015 to 2021 for the topic phase field modeling alloy solidification dynamics. We found out 818 publications generated, and we further analyzed for potential international collaborators. If you see, worldwide is 818, Asia Pacific alone is 412. Now, from this total publication generated, we found out that 50% were coming from 6 countries. We have Germany, United States, France, Russia, China, and Japan. So we choose Germany because we found out that Germany is a top publishing institution in that field. So we approached University of Applied Science, Karlsruhe, as our potential collaborator, and we initiate the discussion. The discussion was initiated first by our international office and followed by a couple of discussions with the researchers. So the outcome from now, 2 our researchers has managed to secure international research grant from University of Applied Sciences, Karlsruhe, valued at 200,000 and 186,000 respectively. Since then, we have also enjoyed at the university level, we also have enjoyed 12 co-authored publications produced within the collaboration of UMPSA and Karlsruhe. We also signed MOA at Germany, and the rest is history. The next case study, it's about charting our top 2% scientists. In 2021, 12 of our researchers were listed in top 2% scientists by Stanford Elsevier. So how do we increase this? How do we push our researchers at the global stage? And we have to do this with data and with strategy. So based on this list, 12 researchers, we go back to CIBER and we identify top 100 researchers. Those are our potential experts that we can so-called sell on to the public. And we support, my office support, number 1, currently we CIBER support. Before this, Prof. Chong and his team will give the same amount of support, the same number of analysis, regardless whether he has to travel like 3 hours away to KL. So, other than CIBER support, we also give research grants. This is very normal to other universities as well. We have publication training support. We have Cendekia Bitara, is appreciation for our top researchers. The difference with our Cendekia Bitara of our incentive scheme is that we do not award based on the number of publication, but we award based on impact, based on citation, and we pay per paper, not per author. That means the more paper that you produce, the more author, co-author that you have, including international author, that will be valued most by the university. Our postdoctoral fellow support, as of last year, we were the highest, we give the highest paid for our postdoc, and the KPI is 6, Q1 or Q2 in a year. And other than that, we also do conference support. The outcome, 2024, last year, we have managed to increase almost threefold of our top 2% scientists at UMPSA. So, from recovery to resilience, this is our current standing now. We can see that post-COVID, we are steadily increasing in terms of total number of publications as well as total paper with international collaborators. We also have increased tremendously in our publication in top 10% cited journals. In ranking, in THE World University Ranking, we have rise from the 800 band from 2023 and now to the 600 band, 2024 onwards. For QS World University Ranking, we started at 700 band in 2020. Post-COVID, we have gone to 800 and then climb back to 700 band, and now 2026 results is out, we are already in 600 band. Okay, what's next? So we have identified the researchers, we have the experts, we have the funding, we have the team to support all the researchers. Where do we go next? To which area should we invest? So we take a new opportunity now. We are going for a leap of faith, a flight from research excellence to aerospace leadership. Because in 2025, Pahang State Government already announced that they are going to build a vertical spaceport, and this is part of a larger project of Pahang Aerospace City in Gebeng. Gebeng is in Kuantan. And UMPSA is strategically located at Pekan and Gambang office to be the technology depository arm for the project. Going back to cyber, we identified all the aerospace engineering publication across the world. We found that there are 1,700 publications. There are growing interests worldwide, but Malaysia is still lack of output. If we see worldwide, 1,700, in Malaysia there is only 12 publications. So we analyze the key phrases because we want to know from which angle we should serve the state as the technology depository arm and with facts. So we came out with aerospace engineering as the major key phrase. So from this pool of topic, we further narrow down to top 7 topics, and we identified 4 centers of excellence. On the right, these are 4 out of 8 centers of excellence at UMPSA. Next, we go on to identify top contributing countries in the area, and we found out there are plenty, including Mexico, Peru, Brazil, Italy, Turkey. From those pool, we shortlist 3 countries and we identify 3 top institutions with the top researchers. We have sought for United States, University of Maryland, with an expert in aerodynamic testing. In Saudi Arabia, Al-Bahar University in space physics, and United Arab of Emirates Intelligent Autonomous Systems. Coming back to my office, my role as a navigator is to navigate the path and provide the support. All the support, financially, motivation, strategically, the strategy. So with this direction, we presented to the top management. They confirmed, they agreed, we are going into this area. So we established our center, a new center for advanced mobility and aerospace, led by our top researcher, Prof. Rizalman, with H-index 78, and he has all the expertise. When we go and approach him to lead aerospace, and especially on building, in rocket building, so he said, there is no mechanism yet. There is no lab for building rocket yet. So we go and ask, how much do you need? Then he came back, okay, we need just 1 million. So I told him, you cannot go to the management and say, you need just 1 million. We need a grand design of picture. How much do you need? So he came up with a proposal with 3 million ringgit to the management. And in all honesty, the management approved 1 million out of it, but it is actually more than enough, because that is exactly the amount that he asked for in the first place. We do support in terms of matching grants. We have identified partners. One of it is Guarding Group in the picture, because Guarding Group is the developer for Pahang AeroCity Development Berhad. It is the responsibility of my office to identify what are the industry partners, and we approach the partners, and we also initiate discussion with Al-Bahar University. As of today, my VC, Prof. Yatimah, is already at UAE for the discussion. So, there is 4 small stories of UMPSA, how we have used cyber analytics to actually strategize, to find the, I wouldn't say a loophole, but it's more a gap or an opportunity of where we can further enhance our standing in the world. With that, I thank you.
Much, Prof, for that insightful session. And now we'd like to open the floor for Q&A. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand.
Okay, thank you, Farida, for your for your presentation. So I just want to ask, is there any target for UMPSA in terms of ranking? For example, when you do all these kind of things, I believe you want to achieve something, right? In the end. Okay, thank you.
We only benchmark local institutions. So for the undisclosed standing, we are just hoping that we can climb up the ranks. Among local public universities is good enough. We hope to be number 1 among M2 now, and we are. And we are trying to move further. We would like to prove that with small funding, because unlike research universities, they have research funding, but with industry support, we can achieve just the same.
Any more questions?
So, Prof. Ida, thanks for a great presentation. And what I liked about your case study is you're not using Cybele for reporting. Your Cybele is completely integrated into the day-to-day life of the researchers now in your university, as you have created researcher groups and department analysis. The entire analysis is based on Cybele metrics only. And you've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 months. I'm just curious to know how researchers are responding to this new way of life.
We got our anchor, Prof. Shahir, to help us on the training. So when we sign the agreement, we talk to our researchers and say, we are going forward and you cannot be local champion. As much as we love you to contribute here in Malaysia, we also like to throw you outside and be champion someplace in the world. So with that, we provide with access to cyber, we provide with training, and we do not only train the management or the managers. We train the deans, the deputy deans, the director of our research centers, even to the smallest unit of research group in any faculty. So it is basically open to everybody. Or the keyword is actually access to a tool. So having cyber at our disposal, we are so ready to rock.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. And we would like to invite Mr. Kavit to present a token of appreciation to Prof. Ida for the great sharing just now. Thank you very much. Oh, there's one more. Okay, thank you once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now move to session 3, measuring and communicating research impact effectively using SciVal data. And this session will be presented by Mr. Christopher James. Mr. James is the Principal Product Manager of SciVal Elsevier Amsterdam, part of the team responsible for the design and development of new features to help their global customer base meet their research strategy challenges. He was responsible for the launch of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in SciVal, and is currently working with his customers to deliver new data and metrics to help provide evidence of societal impact. Chris joined Elsevier in Amsterdam in 2004, where he has also held roles in the company's sales and product marketing teams. So the floor is yours, James.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Chris James. I work as one of the product managers. My title is Principal Product Manager, but I am not the product manager. So there are 4 of us who work in Amsterdam. And my role is basically to work with you, work with our customers, to help understand what your needs are, and then to see how we can address those needs within the product, SciVal. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. My first time in Kuala Lumpur, although then I found out I'm not actually in Kuala Lumpur, so that was disappointing. Although it is a very, very nice location. And then a 45-minute taxi drive to get to Kuala Lumpur, so that was my first discovery. Looking forward to the day today. Before I get started, just maybe a show of hands. Who here has used SciVal before? Can you put your hand up? Yeah, a few people, more the people at the front. Okay, good to know. I have like some basic stuff around SciVal in here because I realised that it's new and really nice to hear the presentation just now about the first public university that has access. So what I'd like to do is give a small introduction about SciVal. So what is it? I will talk a little bit about what we have planned for the product. So just high level so you can understand where we're looking to go. Then I'd like to share 3 different case studies that we have here. So one around the rankings, so how SciVal can help with understanding the rankings. Another one is how to use SciVal to understand the strengths that you and the university has. And the final one is then looking outside of academia. So how is your research having an impact outside of academia? So I'll be covering those things. So first of all, what is SciVal? SciVal is actually a tool which covers over 24,000 different institutions. It has over 20,000 researcher profiles in there as well. And you keep hearing about topics. 95,000 topics are mentioned. I'll tell you a little bit more about what topics are in a second. But it basically allows you to look at anything from a single publication to a group of publications that you define, to a researcher, group of researchers, institution, country, world, whatever you're basically interested in, and then to dissect that information. We calculate some metrics on a weekly basis. There's 300 trillion metrics which are calculated on a weekly basis, because you guys demand a lot from the tool. We get weekly updates of data. And there are various different data sets which are in there. So we have mainly Scopus data, but there's also patent data in there. There's policy data. There's data around news. We get funding data in there as well. So it covers a number of different databases. And with it, it allows you to answer a number of different questions, such as how can we demonstrate our excellence and show our unique strengths? which areas are we working in, especially around the Sustainable Development Goals, and how are we best represented in those, and how can we demonstrate our broader impact in society. So as I mentioned, Cybal, the core of Cybal is based off Scopus data. Hands up those of you who are using Scopus, or have used Scopus. A few, but it's many of the ones at the front again that have used Cybal. Okay. So Scopus is an abstract and citation database, covers 100 million publications, or just over 100 million. It has a load of author profiles, a load of affiliation profiles in there. It comes from the publications from 7,000 publishers, so not just from Elsevier, but from 7,000 global publishers. And what Cybal does is it gets a cut of that data on a weekly basis. And we get data from 1996 until the current date. So not everything that's there, but that's 75% of what's in Scopus, 75 million plus publications. So that's the kind of core basis for it. And this allows you to sort of understand everything that's going on from the publication basis. So just a couple of days ago, I just went and had a look at Malaysia in general in Cybal. I look at a 7-year time period, so 2020 to 2026, and here you can see there are 262,000 publications that are being co-authored by Malaysian authors. Yeah, so Cybal allows you to see that, and then what's the citation count, what's the field-weighted citation impact. By the way, the world average for the field-weighted is 1. Okay, so anything above 1 is above the world average. So it allows you to see those, but then the beauty of it is then you can kind of dive in. Okay, great. 262,000 publications. Which are the institutions that are co-authoring those? So then you can see like the list of institutions. And you see the university at the top there with 31,000 publications. And then you can go, okay, well, who's writing those publications? So then you can actually have a look at the list of researchers who are writing those publications and see that there's some at the top there with over 660 publications that they've written just during that 7-year time period. And then, of course, you can have a look at those publications, you can have a look further at the researchers. So the whole idea of Cybal is to start broad and then to work your way down to who is actually doing this, who are the people who are having an influence. And then you can benchmark those people. So I took the first 5 researchers. Okay, so he's written 666 publications, but is that consistent across the time period? And here you can see that if it's growing or declining. So very interesting to understand, how do they stand up against the other researchers? This is just looking at scholarly output, but of course you can look at many, many other metrics as well. So that's just kind of like a highlight of what Cybal can do. Before I go further, I thought it's nice to introduce the team as well. So this is the product team and the development team. So based in Amsterdam and based in the US. So they're all the brains behind it. I'm just the one who stands here and talks about all the good work that they're doing. So developers, UX designers, front-end and back-end, so big data developers as well, are all part of the family that helps bring this product to the table. Now with Cybal, what we aim to do is build and improve the tool over time to help you with the tasks, with the jobs that you need to do. So we're working on a number of innovation themes on the left-hand side. I'm not going to go into loads of detail about this, but this is basically just to show you that what the main things we are looking to improve upon. So the core things that we're working on are around impact. So how can you show things outside of academia? How can you showcase your research and the impact it's having outside of academia? So think about, is it being picked up in policy documents? Is it being cited in patents? Is it being picked up in media? And then are there startups, spin-offs that the university has? Is there academic corporate collaboration that the university has as a result of this research? So we're working on that. I'm doing some work on the AI side, which is very interesting, quite scary at the same time, and a lot to learn. So you're obviously going to hear a lot about Scopus AI. So I'm working on how can we integrate smart ways of using AI in Cybal. We're also looking at how we can improve on the reporting around departments. So how can we bring better data together about the researchers in your university, what they're doing, and how they are comparing to others? Rankings is a big one. So, Elsevier provides data to the different ranking agencies, so QS, THE, and we want to make those rankings as transparent as possible. We also want to make sure you're supported with subject classifications which are relevant within the university as well. And then there's other stuff we're doing to just improve the workability and security and performance of the product, which takes a lot of effort as well. So I'm going to go into a couple of these, and at the same time kind of show the use cases of what our customers are actually doing in these areas. So the first one I'm going to do is start with rankings. By the way, I have kind of scattered some photos of my last few days in Malaysia, so you may notice those cropping up. Yes, I did climb the stairs. Yes, I was a sweaty mess by the time I got to the top, but the view was spectacular, so it was nice. So in this one, I'm going to talk on the ranking side. So what we're looking to do here in SciVal is to help you understand and bring clarity to the bibliometrics in the rankings. So as you know with the rankings, often there's a metric component, and then there's other parts which are used in the rankings. So the questionnaires which are sent out, etc. And so what we're planning to do here is to make it clearer how those bibliometrics are being used. And then what you can do to help improve and understand what's happening in the rankings. So as was mentioned earlier, love-hate relationship with the rankings, but they are here to stay. And as we've also heard, they're used to help identify, as a student, where should I study? Also as a faculty member, where do I want to work? So it's important for the universities to present themselves well in the rankings. And often, if you do good research, that will also lead to good ranking positions as well. When looking at the rankings data, it's often hard to understand, how have I, especially on the bibliometric side, how did I get this score? If you want to try and calculate it yourself, it's quite difficult to do because you don't have the exact numbers. And if you want to compare yourself against your peers, that's also difficult to do. So what we're trying to do here is actually give you the underlying data which is used by THE, used by QS, so that you can actually run these reports yourself, understand, and then improve. And this will allow different people at different levels to sort of benchmark and understand what you're doing, to analyze the trends and the rankings over time, to help with management level reports, and to use this to inform strategies, especially on publishing and on things that you want to encourage. So we started a program, it actually started a few years back, 2021, where we wanted to pull the different rankings into SciVal and make them as transparent as possible. So between there and now, we now cover the THE World University Rankings, which is gone through a different iteration almost every other year, so we have to keep up to date with that. We also have the THE Impact Rankings, which obviously looks at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Is everyone familiar with the UN SDGs? Yeah, okay. Good, so we provide the data for the SDGs as well, and you can find that back in SciVal. We then have the HCCR, so the highly cited Chinese researchers. So there's a list which we provide for that. Then it's the QS World University Ranking, and then, as I mentioned, THE changed their methodology, so we had to add that in. We've got the US Best New University Ranking, and then the most recent one we have at the bottom there is a ranking tracker. Now this tracker, the idea behind it is that we can give you the underlying data for the upcoming ranking. Yeah, so not the scores that they calculate, because we can't do that, that can't happen until the ranking comes out. But we can give you the underlying data so you can see, okay, based upon what we had last year compared to this year, are we doing the same, better or worse? And then you can look at your peers as well. And this should help you understand, are we going to be pleasantly surprised with an increase in where we are in the rankings, or is there cause for concern? So do we need to do something, do we need to act, and do we need to analyze this data further? So I'm going to have a look at the THE one. I'm not going to go into loads of detail. There's loads of detail on the slides which you'll get later. But the idea is just to show what kind of things can you do with this, and what kind of analysis are our customers doing. So with THE, with the World University Rankings, 40% of the data which is used in the rankings actually comes from the metrics, from the values itself. So that's actually very important. If you compare that to the US News one, only actually, I think it's 4% of the overall ranking comes from the data, so a much smaller number. So here you can actually, by having a look, making sure that your data in Scopus and the way that you're publishing is good, then you can actually have an influence on the ranking there. And you see it's research quality, there's research strength, research excellence, research influence, there's patent information as well, all coming from us. So, a very colourful slide. What we do is we provide the overall rank scores that you can see there. So you can see what you've got for research productivity, the patent score, etc. And then you can go into detail and have a look at, okay, how did that score occur? So if you scroll down a little bit, you can then have a look at which publications, for example, were used in that scale of the ranking. And of course, if you look at the publications, you can see who wrote those publications, who did they co-author them with, what subject areas were they on, and all of these kind of things. You can then see if the field-weighted citation impact for those publications that were submitted, is it consistent, is it above or below from year to year? And then you can go into each of the indicators and understand further. So with the co-authored, international co-authorship, for example, 17,000 publications here, what are those publications? Like, what are the institutions that we're co-authoring with? And the same here if you go into the research strength, the excellence, and the patents. So each of these, you can actually dive into the underlying data. So to understand who was doing it and what kind of research were they writing. Yeah, and obviously if there are areas of strength where you're being well represented, maybe these are areas that you should be looking at and seeing if you can do more of it, because that can help you with the ranking. And then we allow you to benchmark with peers. Yeah, so you can take all of this data, you can take any of the indicators, and then you can compare yourself against other institutions. And of course that allows you to look at the ones you'd like to aspire to. So how do we increase in the rankings? What are they doing? What kind of big collaborations? What kind of research are they writing? Are we working with them? Okay, so that was on the ranking side. The next part I want to show is on the topic side. And this here can help you with measuring and showcasing your research strengths. So first of all, what are topics? So topics are a collection of documents with a common focused intellectual interest. Yeah, so think of them as very, very specific areas of research. Yeah, there are 95,000 of them that we've identified in SciVal. Okay, and a topic, it could be quite small. I think the smallest ones are just a couple of hundred publications, and they can be quite big. I think the biggest we now have is around 10,000, 20,000 publications, but those grow over time. We had one topic which had 100,000 publications in it because it was on AI and it was growing. I think maybe it was doing it itself, who knows. But they can grow, they can decline. They can contain loads of new publications, or they can just be really fundamental and just have old publications in them. They're publications from 96 till current date, and we have a metric in there called prominence. And prominence helps you to understand the momentum of this topic. Yeah, so high prominence doesn't mean it's like an excellent topic. It just means there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of citations. You see prominence is, what did it say? Recent citation, recent views, and a high site score value, so a journal metric. So it means there's a lot of activity happening in there. Often high prominence topics are well funded, of course. I mean, the more activity, the more funding there has to be to fund that activity. Okay? So I took Malaysia. and then I looked at the top 1% by prominence topics, so the most active topics, and it puts it in a wheel like this, right? Each of the colors that you see, so is a different subject area, so there are 27 different subject areas around the outside. So computer science, maths, physics, chemistry, chemical engineering, it kind of follows a nice pattern here of linked areas. And then where the bubble is where it's, where the subject area that's closest to the size of the bubble is the amount of activity that's happening by the entity you're looking at. So in Malaysia, you see that big green bubble there, and there's a blue one there, and anyway, it doesn't tell you very much unless you click on the bubbles. So I clicked on a few bubbles to have a look. So if we look, the red one down here is to do with mental health impacts of COVID-19. Okay, what we've done is we've taken all the publications in that topic, and then we've created, using AI, we've created a name for the topic to help you understand what it is. So COVID up there, we've got consumer intentions in organic and green markets, interconnections of economic growth and carbon emissions, that's the big green one. And so I went into that one, and on the left-hand side, we then have a AI-generated summary of what that topic is, to help you understand above what it means. So in this case, it's about the interplay between economic growth, environmental sustainability, energy consumption, and financial development. And then it gives some things there. So this allows you to kind of identify areas where you're doing well. So a lot of publications, 15,500 publications from Malaysia. And then you can see, okay, what is this topic about? And then you can dive into this topic and see, okay, who's researching in it? Which universities are they from? What are they actually talking about? So what papers are they talking about? And what is the essence of their research? So we've had topics in SciVal for about 8 years or so, and universities have been relying on it for a number of different things, and I'd like to share a couple of use cases of what they're doing here. So the University of Johannesburg, for example, UJ, their leaders, they wanted to attract collaborators, graduate students, and colleagues who wanted to complement their skills and work together to enhance the university's reputation. But in order to do that, they had to understand, where do we stand in the world? What are we strong in? So by using SciVal, they identified all of the topics where they were publishing a lot of papers, and where, compared to the rest of the world, they actually had a lot of citations as well. And this allowed them to identify their unique areas of strength, and then they could use that to attract other people in that area, work with the researchers in that area, and strengthen those areas as well. Another example is the University of Sussex. They wanted to profile their areas of strength in a specific area, in medicine, okay? So what they did is they took topics, and within the topics they could take all of the key phrases within that topic, so all the keywords that make up that topic. They used that to create search strings so that they could run those search strings in different databases. So not just in SciVal, but all over. So they used it in their finance systems, they used it in internal systems, and they were using this to triangulate against funding information as well. And they developed, from this, they developed a public searchable website which provided key information about areas of expertise and the researchers behind those expertise. And it helped to kind of showcase what the university is doing, but also make those people really visible if people are looking for certain experts in a certain area, so they could search on a database. So they weren't using the topics to be the end goal, but they were using the topics to help them identify things and expand from there. And then the third one I'd like to share with you is from Arizona State University. So they're a very big university in the US, and in their state, they recognized that there was a pandemic happening. Basically, there was an opioid addiction. And they wanted to work on, how can we, as a university, how can we help with this area? It was very important to them, so they set up a knowledge enterprise leadership, and they said, Okay, as a public university, it's our responsibility to do something, to be impactful in our society. And so they wanted to find relevant researchers who are doing research in opioid addiction or addictive substances. So they went into SciVal, they looked at their wheel of science, as we call it here, and they identified the areas, the topics which are to do with that sort of thing. So here this one's to do with opioids. They could then identify the researchers who were publishing in those. They also used other tools to help identify people as well, because SciVal is just one tool. You should never put all of your make your decisions based upon one tool. You have to triangulate your data. They also needed to take other things into consideration. Great, I can find a researcher and I can say, yes, let's work with you and you can be part of our task force, but maybe they're full. Maybe they've already got other things they need to do. So they had to speak to these researchers, understand, are they interested in working in the task force, and gather all the detail that way. What happened, they ended up having a 2-day hybrid workshop. It was in 2019, so just as COVID was kicking off. And they ended up getting state and federal partners there. So there were 35 researchers from the university were identified. They were invited, but they also invited 4 different states and 7 other institutions, to a total of 56 people to come together. And they sat in this workshop. They generated 8 different ideas on how to move forward. How can we address this problem? And they widely accepted that this was a big success. It was also something they had never done before. And the topics that they had there and the way of being able to identify people was their starting point. I'd like to now move on with the final part, which is how can you look at your research and see the impact outside of academia? Yeah, so I kind of touched on some of the things we're doing on the roadmap side, how we're looking to improve upon this, but I'd like to show an example as well. So this is something which I started working on with SciVal around 4 years ago. And basically what we were looking at is how can we help researchers, research heads, and the organization understand and demonstrate the broader research outside of academia. And especially because they're looking to build and enhance the reputation of the university, for example. They want to create narratives. I don't know if you have the same thing that we have in the UK, but creating narratives, showcasing your research is essential to funding grant applications. So having these narratives for grant applications, having these narratives for recruitment, promotion, retention, why should you keep me? Why should you recruit me? I can prove it with some data. And also as extra data points when looking to build a team. Yeah, you can look at the publication work, you can look at their research and how it's being picked up outside of academia, and then of course you need to interview and find out, are they a team player, can they work together, etc. But having these extra data points obviously helps enhance your knowledge. So we started working on this, and we've started working with the data that we've got, but we do have an ambition. So we're working obviously with publication data and understanding how are these publications being cited? Yeah, that's a lagging indicator. It takes a while for this data to come in as well, but we have to start somewhere. So we're going to start there. But what we would like to know is then how is that research having an impact on, cultural impact or economic impact or environmental impact? And you can start to, build a case study, or you can ask researchers this kind of information. But the end goal we'd like to get to is the real world impact. Is it creating jobs, the research they're doing? Is it helping to reduce carbon dioxide? Is it helping to save lives? Is it helping with biodiversity, etc.? Yeah, to get that thread from here back to here is very difficult. I don't know how we're going to do it because we haven't figured it out yet. So we have to start with the stuff we can do and then see if we can figure out the rest of it later. But I thought it was good for you to know our ambition, and then I can show you where we are at the moment. So the core data which we've been adding into SciVal to help with this is policy data, which we put in 2022. patent data. So is your research being cited by patents? Because that can help to demonstrate a little bit on the sort of technological transfer. And then media. Is your research being picked up in media? We're also looking at how we can further improve all of this. So not only just tell you the raw numbers, but is there a way of being able to say, give you the so what? Okay, if you've got 20 policy citations, what does that mean? If I can tell you that that's above the world average, that starts to mean something. So to be able to put in normalized indicators in there. Also, we're looking to expand the data which we offer. So I mentioned we're looking to put spin-off data in there. So is the university, have they got spin-offs or startups which have come out of the university? Of course, spin-offs and startups, they can help drive the economy as well. Does the university have a patent portfolio? So are there patents which are being filed by the university? So not only citing the university, but they're being filed by them. And what are those patents about? And then, as we've seen, when looking at research impact, if you are working together with a corporate entity, you're often cited more and the citations are higher than if you're, say, just working only in the academic circle. So what kind of academic corporate collaboration is going on? Because that can also show a transfer of knowledge across. So we're working on bringing this data in, but it's very difficult to do. We need broad data sets. We don't want something which works great for the US and that's it. No, we need something which works with the whole world. So those are the challenges that we're facing. But it allows you to do, if I work onto the policy side, it allows you to do things like this. So you can start with, again, I started with Malaysia. So you see a thread going through here. I looked at Malaysia. So in this, how long did I do? Oh, yeah, 7-year time period, so 2020 to 2026. Malaysia has 262,000 publications. And of that, 4,700 are being cited by one or more policy documents in the database. So that's, where is the number? 1.8%. So nearly 2% of all publications coming from Malaysia are being picked up in policy. I'm not sure if you knew that. I didn't until I looked in the database. So then the nice thing here is then, as with everything we put into SciVal, you can then go, okay, well, what are these policy documents? What are the scholarly outputs which are being cited? What are the policy bodies that are doing the citing? And the interesting thing here is that these scholarly outputs that are being cited by policy, they're not only being cited by policy, they're usually cited more by their peers, by the academia as well. So that field-weighted citation impact number keeps coming up again and again. So here, if you look at the all scholarly output, so the 200,000, it's 1.19 field-weighted citation impact, which is very good, to be honest. But the stuff which is cited by policy is 5.92. So it's getting nearly 500 times more citations than you would expect to see. So I can then have a look, okay, where are you being cited? The one in the middle here in the Atlantic, it's there for a reason. We did that on purpose. That's the intergovernmental citations. So intergovernmental policy bodies, 3,000 documents from those are citing your research. And you can see Australia as well. I think that's all Angel and his crew, 266 policy citations coming from there. So you get to see that it's a very global spread. And then of course you can go and have a look at like what is being cited. So I thought, let's just take the top one. We had the top publication being cited from Malaysia in policy. So this one here, the scholarly output called The Global Burden of 87 Risk Factors in 204 Countries, has been cited by 224 policy documents. I'm like, wow. But there are nearly 1,000 authors on this paper. Where's the part here? I can't see it. So big. Here. Nearly 1,000 authors. So you go, okay, well, how much? I don't know how many are Malaysian. It could be there's 900 Malaysian authors on there, but I doubt it because it's probably a very, one of those very globally spread papers. So then I scrolled down just a little bit, not far, and I found another paper which has got 96 policy citations in it, and this one is being written by 20 people. Okay, so then it's like, right, okay, this is much, then those authors, each author is having much more of an impact individually than that previous one. Now what's kind of interesting here, 96 policy documents, but we can see there's 139 mentions. Yeah, what that means is that it's not this scholarly output is not being used once in a policy document. It could be used multiple times to back up multiple pieces of evidence. And so what we allow you to do is to then dive in and go, okay, which policy document is it? So it's a Forest Pathways Report of 2023 from the WWF. And then you can see that one piece of scholarly output was mentioned 6 times. Where is it mentioned? What's it about? So you can see here, page 19, and you can go to it. The research also suggests that at least 1/3 of so-called intact forest landscapes exist, like et cetera, yeah? So you can see where has it been cited. And you can start to build a story here on what's the impact that my research is having on this policy document, which is looking at forests, yeah, and sustainability within that. And of course then you can go, right, who's written this scholarly output? Is being cited by this policy document, because you're not, so you can use this to build up a very good understanding of this is important to us, this is what's happened in the past from this kind of research, how can we recreate this, how can we make sure this happens again, okay? And this is kind of a final quote which I'm going to put down here from a university, so Maynooth University in Ireland. They use some of this data that we have in SciVal to help with a grant. So there is an analysis of consortia research metrics. They looked at 10 years of indications, and it indicates that 237 of our policy-cited scholarly output has led, on average, to 64 citations each. Yeah, so those cited articles are being cited a lot in academia. Has a high field-weighted citation impact, being cited by intergovernmental policy documents, so it's global, and it's across multiple countries. So they provided that evidence which helped them secure a €10 million grant. Yeah, that's not the only reason they got the grant. There's many, many other aspects. But this data, this extra evidence helps with that. Yeah, so in summary, I've given you a little info on SciVal. So you've seen other slides on SciVal, but just the basics on it. And we've gone into how the tool can help measure and understand your research impact with the rankings, with showcasing your research strengths, of using topics there, and then understanding your impact outside of academia. So we were looking at policy documents. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, we would like to open for questions from the audience. If there's anything you're curious about or would like our speaker to elaborate on, this is the moment. Just raise your hand. We'll pass the mic to you. Yeah, that's
okay.
one.
Yeah, Robin.
Hello. I'm Yeti from USM Library. Okay, talking about collaboration, in your opinion, which one is more important for university ranking and impact? Industrial collaboration or international collaboration? Thanks.
Okay, yeah, good question. I think we often see that there are fewer industry collaborations taking place than international collaboration. The industry collaboration often ends up with a higher average citation, so a higher field-weighted citation impact than the international collaboration. But like I said, it's fewer, so it's much harder to do. So it all depends on if you have any good connections already. It's much easier to strengthen existing collaboration than it is to start something brand new. So I would say in sheer numbers, international collaboration is easier and still like really lifts the university up. In smaller numbers, corporate collaboration is good for that, but I think it's much harder to do. And they publish fewer papers. There could be more restrictions on what you're able to do. Sometimes you can work with them and you're not allowed to publish because it's sensitive research they're doing. So I think those are the things you have to balance. But both will help to elevate the university above just local interactions and local collaboration. But good question. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Yeah, we have one here, Macy. Or two more.
Okay. In addition to the first question, do you provide the metadata of corporate or industry versus institution, basically, in the database? Do you have that classification at this moment?
Yeah, so of the 25,000 institutions that we cover in SciVal, we allocate them each to an industry. So they could either be academic, corporate, governmental, medical, so forth. So yes, if we identify that there's a corporate entity that's been collaborating with yours, then we will be able to show that. And vice versa as well, if you're working just with academic. So within SciVal, we have different ways of splitting up your collaboration. It could be geographically. So is it single-authored? Is it local? Is it international? Or it could be sector collaboration. So are you collaborating a lot with academic only, or with corporate, or with government, or with health? And then we provide metrics based upon each of those collaborations. So yes, you can break it down that way. Sure.
Macy, we have one more question here.
Hello, I'm Wang from UCSI University. I would like to check, is there a way for SciVal to check cross-citations within institution level and among authors? Because for Scopus, we can filter net citations, but I'm not sure whether it includes self-citations in institution level or author level. What about SciVal? Is it possible for us to filter? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good question. So yes, it depends on the entity that you're looking at. And when I say entity, I mean an entity could be a researcher or an institution or a group of researchers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking at a researcher and you want to know, are they self-citing? Then we provide that. If you're looking at an institution, then we look to see, is there self-citations happening from the university? So are there researchers from your university who are citing your own work? And then we kind of broaden it out. So if you're looking at the country, then we'd see from Malaysia, are there Malaysian researchers who are citing Malaysian work? So yes, basically the answer is we can do it at researcher level if you're looking at researchers. We can do it at institution level if you're looking at institutions. I think in Scopus, I don't think Scopus has self-citation on it. So, okay. Okay. Yeah. So again, with SciVal, it depends on the entity you're looking at. Yeah. So if I look at a topic, then I'm looking at all the papers within that topic to make sure they're not citing themselves. Yeah. So it really depends. Yeah. Rather than just researcher only. Another question? Okay.
Yeah. Macy asked me. There's still a lot of time left. So actually, I'm interested for the economic impact.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things you are looking at is the number of spins off and the startup, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a great starting point. But so two questions. One is, what is the source of your data? And number two, are you looking into measuring the secondary effect? of this, the
Okay.
activities. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the source of the data is Deal Room. Deal Room. Deal Room. And what Deal Room does is it actually looks at university websites to see, do you talk about the spin-offs, startups? So it's scraping data from the university websites. So if you don't publish any information about it, then they won't pick it up. And we're right at the beginning of our discovery with this, so we're going through the data at the moment, and we want to then speak to some universities to see, okay, what Deal Room says versus what do you have? Like, because we know it will be different. We know it's not going to be perfect. Nothing is. I mean, our publication information is not perfect because it's Scopus data, and Scopus doesn't cover everything. So we know that you will have a higher number than we have here, but the number should be the same for everybody. Yeah, so everybody's in the same situation. So when you do benchmarking, at least you're looking at like for like. So we expect the same for Deal Room, that it won't cover everything, but it's the same method for everybody. The other question on, does it show secondary? What do you mean by that?
So, for example, the reason you look at spins off and this because it employs people, right? It
Yep.
can generate revenue and so on. So, but then employing these people actually has impact on the economy because they spend money, right? And so on and so forth. So this is the secondary effect of these economic activities.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you intend to include those?
We'd love to, but we don't have the data at the moment. Yeah, it's also, we're looking at data around LinkedIn as well. Like, can we get that kind of information? So to start off with, it will be, how big is the spin-off? How many people do they employ? How many years has it been active? And you can start to get a feel for it. But yeah, that's it for the moment. Yeah, no, I'd love to have this data. If you know of a database that has it, that provides this stuff, then let me know, because we're investigating.
Perhaps one last question? No more question?
Last call?
Everybody's hungry.
No, but lunch is not ready yet, guys.
We still have one more session to go before our lunch.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
All right, so thank you very much once again to Mr. Christopher James for that great sharing, and thank you also for the questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to session 4, where we'll continue exploring how research data can be turned into strategic insights. It gives me great pleasure to welcome and introduce our speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Shahir Samsir Omar, Vice President of the Innovation and Technology Managers Association, Malaysia. So, Prof? Prof. Dr. Shahir is an expert in bioinformatics and computational biology with a research focus on prion-related diseases. He has held key leadership roles at several Malaysian universities, including Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation at UTHM from the year 2020 to 2023, and Director of Innovation and Commercialization at UTM from 2016 to 2019. His work centers on research management, commercialization, intellectual property, and industry collaboration. So without any further ado, please join me in welcoming our Prof. Dr. Shahir.
Okay, thank you to the MC. And so again, thank you for being patient. I'm the last speaker, right? Correct? For the morning session? No, you better agree with me. Or no, I won't start. It's okay, joking. Can you hear that? Yeah, that's lunch calling. Okay, so I'll make it quick. So for the slide today, if you have noticed that a lot of the previous speakers have done a lot of case studies, and there is a lot of example for you to take up. Yeah. What I'll do is for my session with some example and probably end it by a glimpse into Scopus AI, which will be launched this afternoon by the Honorable Deputy Minister for the Ministry. So for my presentation, you have to look at the two aspects here, which is the use case, the typical use case where you have the SDG profiling, ranking and whatnot, and you have moving beyond the research reporting. So the orange part is what I'll be looking into slightly deeper. Okay. So Cyval, everybody knows about it by now, right? It's 12:30, right? By now everybody knows Cyval is. Raise your hands. Okay, so I'll skip Skyver, but this is generally what had been functioned, and I think all the esteemed speakers before me have done a very good job, tremendous job to present what is Skyver. And for this session this afternoon, actually there is the launch for the Scopus AI. This is the example of the interface. So the important thing is that we are now able to use natural language query. So what we can do is we can join Cyval with Scopus AI. You can join the function together, which I will demo after this. So you're going to have the concept map, you have the curated summaries, you have the insights. So it's an AI. The good thing about Scopus AI, the body of information, the knowledge is based on curated databases, trusted. So you can actually trace where the source comes from, and you can actually use the function, like you download all the citation immediately into your Mendeley or your Zotero or EndNote. Okay? So I'll skim through the first part, institutional profiling, which has been covered by Prof. Aida as well, and Chris for the function. So I'm going to use, instead of UMPSA, I'm going to use NDUM. Anybody been to NDUM? Any representative from NDUM? Ada? Okay. Thank you for letting me use your institution. All right. So, NDUM or UPNM lah. So this is the profile. You can have the profile, you have the authors, field cited, you have the area field. So you have the nice, colorful, rainbow-like circle, rainbow-like circle that represent all the percentages of the topics. And then if you go to UMPSA, the example that we used earlier session, you can see the SDG profiling. So if your bosses wants to look at where you are in terms of the SDG, immediately you can see the comparison between the black color, which is the world average, okay, the blue color for UMPSA, and also Malaysia in general. So, congratulations to UMPSA for leading SDG 7, 9, and SDG 13 compared to Malaysia. Alright, so congratulations. And you are also lagging behind the world average in SDG 4, 1, 16, 17. So you can use this to gauge where you are, what's your strategic plan. So this is the institutional profiling. Quickly, you can generate using the Skyval function. And then you have the detail breakdown. Okay, what's the rank, what's scholarly output. So apparently your SDG 17 partnership and SDG 7, affordable clean energy, you have more than 1,000 papers. More than 1,000 papers. Your goal top scoring is goal number 1. Okay, goal number 6 according to the score. So you're going to have this interface that can provide profiling, quick reporting to your management. You have also collaboration measurement. Okay, this is UMPSA as well. So this is the less sexy graph compared to what Prof. Aida mentioned, more beautiful interface. But this one, if you want to deep dive, you can actually look at your collaboration here. Institutional, single, national. Okay, so for those administrators, I noticed the RMC is sitting on the left, right? On the left of on my left, and all the librarian on the right, correct? You can see there, Okay. Do you know how I know? When you present on research performance, decide the frowning, the worry, the librarian research performance, okay. Joking. Just before lunch, okay? All right. So ideally, you want this, okay, RMCs, you want this to be 0, okay? Ideally, you want this to be 0. This is not a good sign if you have single authorship. All right, you are not Albert Einstein. Okay, you are not Richard Feynman. Okay, nobody writes nowadays with single authorship with your own name. So it's awkward to see like Prof. Aida writing a paper just Aida Mustafa. Okay, so we want to reduce this ideally. We want to reduce this. Okay, in the collaborative nature of the current research where you are now entering the long tail of research where every research investment requires a lot of funding. Only institutional means there's no co-authorship extending beyond the institution. You want to avoid that. Okay, you want to avoid that. So ideally you want to be increasing your international collaboration, which congratulations, almost half of your PSA papers are co-authored with an international partner. So congratulations. So you can see here a simple graph, increase, blue. So it's a good sign. So the orange and the blue, okay, which is the institutional and only national collaboration is stagnant. Okay, so it's okay as long as it's not increasing. Right, but you can see the international networking increasing, those is a good sign. So Skyvel offers you a quick visual cue on where you are and how to help assist your researchers. And you have this, which UMPSA has strong highlights, for example, in magneto-hydrodynamic effect in combustion engine. So everybody thought, okay, we are UMPSA, we are in the automotive. Right, what Prof. Aida claimed just now. But if you look at the automotive, it is about here. Yeah, the corner of the square. So it means what? It could mean that UMPSA has departed away from automotive. They are going into space science now, rocket. Bawa kereta, tak main lah. I rocket ke? Ke something macam tu lah kan. So you have this kind of graph to show where you are. So you can have a legacy, you have a trail back. Tracing back where you were and where you're moving forward. So you have this kind of analysis. Okay, so we're going to go into some deeper detail. So again, this I will use profile and peer comparison using Skyvel. So this is where UPNM comes. Okay, actually this data was presented earlier in an early conference, but I reused it because it was a suitable use case. So what we did was we looked at all the military institution, higher education institution around the world. So we look at their data and to see that globally, what are UPNM and its peer institution doing in terms of research. So this is the keyword that comes up. Now you can see important keywords right now. For example, military dictatorship. Okay, application, post-traumatic stress disorder. Suicidal ideation. Interesting. And suddenly there's Ukraine, obviously. Civil-military relations, democracy, cordyceps. I don't know why cordyceps is big of interest to the military. But this is what the top institution within the ranking. You can see here Pakistan from the top 3 for Asia region. Changsha, Shanghai. Then you can have publication from Walter Reed, King's College, South Wales, Warsaw and UPNM. So these are the aggregate of all the areas of research. So you want to see, am I in the right direction? Am I doing cordyceps? For example, okay. So you want to see your trend, your profile. So we can look at the profile. So this is in Asia, top in Asia. We can see that Pakistan, Changsha. What do you notice? What's the difference between UPNM and the rest? Anybody? This is an interactive session, so you can answer. What do you see? UPNM is NUDM, NDL, UPNM, a more colorful rainbow, cheery, compared to Shanghai, red color, medical. So it means that your institution, in this case, is more broad in terms of research area. Some medical, or in this case, Pakistan, they have medicine constituting 83% of their research. So you know where you are right now in comparison of your peers. So these visual cues is enough to look at where you are. All right, so you have this. So Naval Medical, so it is a bias there. You can see it's Naval Medical University, is National University of Medical Sciences. So obviously medical and health sciences, health, medicine, whatnot, should dominate. So it fits the profile. Okay? So you can also compare all other different institutions. We have from Slovakia, Nigeria, Turkey, Korea, Turkish, Taiwan, Swedish, you can have all this. So this is the pattern that we have. So you can actually see, am I doing okay in general? Are we lagging behind? Where are we going? What do we need to do? So it's a more general, broad profiling. Okay? So you want to compare. For example, UTM, my university, we should compare to, for example, University of Technology Sydney, UTS. We should compare to NTU, for example, Nanyang Technology University. So this is the kind of profiling that you can build. Okay, so what we do is, okay, we took one and compare. We took Warsaw, Military University of Technology, so UPNM, so this is the profile. So for the background, this is a technical university, so it's similar to UTM more than to UPNM. So Military University of Warsaw, you can notice that they don't do other stuff. They do material science, engineering, computer science, chemical engineering. There's no medicine, no environmental science, no computer science. So you can see the trend for that in comparison. So when you look at the keywords, these are the keywords. So remember the highlights that we use as an aggregate for all the military institutions globally. Now this is aggregate for UPNM and aggregate for Warsaw. So you can see, so if you want to coordinate, looking at the bird's eye view, for example, Prof. Haidar mentioned just now, they look at field, directly into direct field. But in case of finding out a general idea, you can see that, okay, they are into, engineering side, laser plasma, military application, GPS, pilotless aircraft, okay. They are into computer shrinking, they are into fiber, magnesium alloy, polymer composite. So this is the profile that you can use if you want to look into your institution. So is my institution on the right track? Are we having the correct projection? Okay, can anybody guess why the differences? Why you have this kind of profile? For example, this kind of profile. Why do you see this profile? Anybody guess? Kenapa? We don't ask UPNM lah. They probably answer. But the rest, can anybody guess? No? It's okay, it's not a Viva. So, okay, the reason being that, for example, let's say these two, because one, okay, most of military universities in the world are under the Ministry of Defense. These are under Military of Defense. Almost all. If you go to this list, for example, all of this, in general, mostly 99% is, I think 99.9%, all under military. So they are under military control, military budget, military. The Ministry of Defense dictate what kind of research you have to do. You cannot do this. There's no freedom in choosing your field. As opposed to UPNM, UPNM is under the Ministry of Higher Education. So they are a bit more flexible. Their research are not 100% bound to the requirement of the military sector, etc., the security sector. So they have the freedom. So that's why you have, for example, biochemistry, you have environmental science. So this help you plan and profile your institution. Okay, so you can see the palm oil, polymer electrolyte, biocomposite, okay, as opposed to here, electronic warfare. So you can see the pattern from the Skyvel. So Skyvel help you unearth the profile. Okay, so the last two bits here, the scalable profiling. So thank you, Prof. Chong. Where's Prof. Chong? Thank you, Prof. Chong. All right, you are continuously contributing, Arida, as the research part and as a profile here. So this is Prof. Chong. Okay, if you haven't met him, he's there at the back. All right. So what I mean by scalable, that you can take Skyvel and take it down to individual level. And then I can profile. So this profile comes from Travel. So Prof. Chong, he's the top 2%. So he's in the picture previously, where Prof. Haidar mentioned the top 2% is UMPSA, is scientific by Elsevier, Stanford University. So this is the two major contribution. You have bio waste and battery recycling. So this is the center of which Prof. Chong is attached. So you can have the scale from individual to his center, and then you can see the profile of his center and profile of himself. So notice the differences, the discrepancy. Prof. Chong has a more colorful rainbow, pharmacology, toxicology, medicine, biochemistry, but none of the center here does medicine. So that is his unique contribution, maybe, I don't know. But the profile tells you, gives you the visual signals. All right? And you don't get the photo, and the photo is not in Skyver. This is, I add my own. Okay, there's no photo of Prof. Chong in Skyver, okay? Because I cannot leave the center empty, so I just Google his photo and found it on the UMPSA website. So you go to the center, Skyver also help with the center collaboration. For example, just now we look at UMPSA, now we look at the center. You can see that 72% of international collaboration. So way better than UMPSA in general, which stands at around 48%. So improve of that. So 0 single authorship. Congratulations. Congratulations, right? So that's the right step moving forward. And then there are still some institutional collaboration, but we understand that between different centers you might have co-authorship. But ideally you want it to be national and international. So from the top collaborator, Skyver can generate the data. Here, okay, remember, this is an aggregate of the center, not the field. The example just now in the previous lecture, you have the field and you have the publication paper based on citation, based on publication output. But this is the total aggregate of the collaborators within the center. So you can see that this is the output of the center, TT3 Singapore. So the top paper that they collaborate with NUS there. Okay, so what do you see in the top 4 papers? What's the pattern you see? Anybody? Comment? Ada 4 tu, the 4 papers, nampak apa? Okay, you can see that all the top papers are all review papers. It's all review papers. That's what they have in Nature reviews, Cell reports, physical science. So all reviews. So one of the strong collaboration, I would say, strategy is to co-author a review paper. Okay, co-author a review paper, which is a good starting point. Okay, if you want to expand your collaboration. So a good review. So the top papers with Singapore, these 4 with the center, are all review papers. All right. So last part of the slide, we have the combining the Skyver Scopus. So I ask Scopus AI, okay, how do you turn bio waste into high performance energy storage device? On behalf of Prof. Chong, it's Prof. Chong area. So I'm not a bio waste specialist. I think Prof. Chong area is super capacitor, alright. So Prof. Chong dia macam Elon Musk. Dia macam Elon Musk. Both dabble into battery storage system, alright. So bio waste super capacitor. So you have this, and then you have this video. So let's see if it works. So when this video shows the process of the thinking process, which can now replace your RO ke RA? ARA, yeah. RO. So you can see that here, it is in the deep research. If you look into the function, there is a deep research function that I have enabled. So it goes into serious research. It has thought for 3 minutes. Longer than your bathroom break lah. Okay, for 3 minutes. Okay, the AI is okay. I've thought about this seriously for 3 minutes. All right. So it come up. For example, this is the first page, the theme, the aspect for the question, the key insight. All these are the references. of that particular paper. So they aggregate not into, if you use ChatGPT, most of ChatGPT or other LLM, they are in textual basis. Or you have to have a smarter prompt to create tables and whatnot in, for example, Grok or Gemini. But in this case, immediately will give you the references for the papers under the Elsevier databases, and then we'll see the video if it works. Okay, so, oops. All right. Okay, hang on. Okay, so it's thinking. I'm starting research biowaste. I found 20 papers research. I'm working on this. So it shows you the thinking process. And then you get the paper, talk for 3 minutes. Okay, so conversion, which journal, etc. Finishing this report, research. I'm working on the research plan. So it's describing supercapacitor. And then you scroll down, you get the data. You got the direct answer. You got the study scope, the assumptions that you have, suggested research, a good introduction. What is the type of biowaste, references, you click the references, it opens on the right. So everything is seamlessly integrated within the interface. Okay, so this is what will be launched this afternoon. So it's now accessible to all public university, correct, Farhan? Okay, Farhan is not paying attention, but never mind. So, matters, data, critical, real-world device performance, scalability, challenges. So, country policy and framework, circular paper. So, you have all this going through the material, and then it's quite lengthy, about 4 to 5 pages, and then you have show all the 75 references. So you can actually download all the references into your bibliometric software immediately. Mendeley, you have table citation, you have all the papers there. So that's the end of the Scopus AI. So I think the last part is researcher discovery. If you look at the function, just now Prof. Haida mentioned they look at the top researcher within the different continent. They have to look into the paper, into the author. But now you have the automatic function under researcher discovery, which under biowaste supercapacitor, it is recommended this top 3 from Czech Republic, India, and then you have the 8 documents, and from here you can see that they are very into pineapple waste as energy storage. So this is the last function that I want to highlight, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Prof, for that sharing. And I believe that we still have time for a few questions. Right, Prof?
Yeah.
So I open the floor for questions. I know the lunch is calling, but we still have time. Macy? All right, any questions? Yeah, we have one there.
Oh,
Prof. Chong.
Chong, why lah Chong? Want to ask question, Chong?
Testing.
Thank you, Prof. Shahir, for honoring me as your case study. That's not the question. I'm very interested at the Scopus AI that we can use, right? So, I think
just to check, Farhan, we can use Scopus AI sekarang? Yeah, it's available for all university, correct? All public university, okay?
Okay, look at it's very powerful, just like the other LM or ChatGPT, but it's a verified sources, right? So I think it really helps all the researchers in how to speed up our literature review and how we can get the researcher gap. But one thing is, I try to see, during our researcher progress, right, researching progress, getting the literature and reading the papers, all this is part of the process. So means that we need to identify the gaps by reading like 100 or 200 papers. But with this Scopus AI, it really can shorten the time. But the question right now is how can Prof share with us, how are you going to balance it? Let's say for the PhD student. So PhD student, when they go into this Scopus AI, right, within minutes or 3 minutes, right, just now, 3 minutes, they can get those effort that we generate. Maybe we need months to previously to generate all these, reading up all these papers. But with this, we can generate within 3 minutes. Maybe during the process is the lack of all this, the learning process for the PhD scholar. So how we as a university or the supervisor can balance off this? We try to leverage on this advanced technology and the era of AI, but how are you going to balance it off so that the student can really pick up this learning process as well?
Okay. Right. One or more? Just one question for now. Okay. One only. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Chong, for agreeing to be the use case. So, okay. So, to answer your question, what is different now is that everybody else outside the room is what we call digital native. Digital natives mean generation born now is already born with a device. So we are no longer unbounded by digital device. So we call it digital native. So everybody ada. I mean, you go to any restaurant makan, you know, if the child cries, you give the handphone, okay, ni Upin and Ipin, you know, nah, tengok, and then while the parents makan. So the culture is there. Okay, the culture is really there. The expectation is there. So therefore, with AI, I think with the launch in end of 2023, the launch of ChatGPT, it opened up so many tools of AI. So it is a new reality. Okay, so we cannot say to any learning student or adult saying, okay, you cannot use. You have to use like how I learned 20 years ago. You cannot do that. It's unfair to them because their peers will be using. Okay, so that's the main point. Second point is that the actual process is not important. What's important is the actual outcome. Okay, imagine you have two students, one the old school, reading the paper, print the PDF, highlighter, read everything. You have another student here who uses AI, who thought about 3 minutes, think about it, and get the data. Okay, the actual outcome is that you want students to be trained. How they are trained might be different. So you measure the success of the training by having more interaction, by asking them, okay, I want you to read a paper, I want to read this area, battery, supercapacitor, waste and whatnot, and let's discuss. Usually how long will you give student time to read? No, I mean, on average, your engagement time you given 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days, a month, if you're a postgraduate. You said, okay, you read about this, come back to me next week, correct? Okay. Now you can tell them, okay, read about this, tell me tomorrow. The process is still the same. Previously, remember, when you go to classes now, those who are lecturing, you notice now your students are now not printing anything. They have the iPad, they have the pad, they have the highlighter, everything. Now, even UPSA, congratulations, are using e-books. So all the content 100% digital. So the digital native are just using what is they are already accustomed to. The only thing that you have to be careful is the thought process whereby, okay, come and see me tomorrow with this topic. So they will come and you assess them by asking them, okay, what do you find? They should be able to articulate. Okay, the advantage of this system is that you differentiate between those smart students and those less smart students. So less smart student will take a week. Smart student will take 1 day. So by having AI, you are breaking the shackle, we say, that allow those students who are smart to perform 6 days better. But then you still have to measure them, you have to ask them, they must be able to articulate the idea, discuss. I mean, that requires, remember, some students can understand something faster, correct, in the class. Some students still go homework, start tuition, go class, tanya kawan-kawan. But some students tidur dalam class, but their exam can answer. Right. AI will help those students. Okay, for those students who are slow, AI can become their companion. Saying that, okay, what do you understand? Okay, ChatGPT, I tak faham lah ni. Can you explain tak benda ni? Apa tu tak faham boh? Dia pun jawab. And then they explain. So AI can become the tool that accelerate those who have the potential, not restrained, and also those who are slow by giving them specific learning, tuition that you yourself would not be able. You cannot cater 30 students. So this will bridge this gap and you have to treat it that way as an assistant lah. Your use of AI should not be transactional. A lot of students, okay, I have this assignment, take this assignment, give to the AI, okay, do the assignment. The right way to do it, okay, I have this assignment, where do you think I should read? So the AI will give, okay, read this, read this, read this. Okay, you read, okay, I don't understand, ask AI, I don't understand this, can you explain? The AI explain. So the process is different. Okay? All right, all right. Okay, next question.
There's no next question, I believe, but I do have.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I do have an input, but probably not for you. But I'm going to direct to the table of the librarians.
Yes.
Are there any guiding principles of how you will guide the researchers in terms of AI? Because I think this will be kind of related to, how Prof. Chong actually asked that questions of how do they use AI for their research works? And I'm actually quite interested from the librarian team.
Yeah, please. So I can.
Is there any volunteer from this table?
MPSC. They've used the ebook. USM. Are you?
Assalamualaikum and selamat tengah hari semua. Your question is about how our okay. For USM case, what we did was we learned for 1 year on how to adapt this AI into our module, for example. That is important because we
Sure. I want to hear what she said.
You want to hear what
with AI, we need the student actually needs more guidance from lecturer and librarian, of course. So what we did was for one year we do the study on how to get this element of AI into our modules, because we have a user education program in the library. So in that case, we can identify how our role in AI era, like now, and to guide the student directly with the module that they will attend the session with us, and we have a research consultation with the students and researchers. So that's how we play our role as librarians. Thank you.
Any more questions?
what is being covered in the module, if I want to go into that details.
Actually, on what tools they can use. I mean, what type of AI they can use in our in the session, in their information searching, for example. There are thousands of AI tools outside. We just take a few as an example, but what important is how they use the AI, the ethics, and so on. So that's yes. So that's what we need. We highlighted in the module. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all, Macy?
That's all from me.
All right. Okay. So thank you once again, Prof, for highlighting how Skival and Scopus AI open new pathways for research excellence. And now we once again invite Mr. Kavid to present a token of appreciation to Prof Shahir. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kavid and Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly have just a minute to wrap up our session? Okay, thank you very much. So distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our morning sessions. It's our pleasure to invite everyone for a networking lunch that is served at the dining hall at level LG. Do take this opportunity to connect, exchange ideas, and spark collaborations. And we will see you back here promptly at 2:45 p.m. for the official launching ceremony with our guest of honor, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education. And as you make your way out, feel free to drop by at our booth, Elsevier and UMK, that we have set up earlier for you. So that's all for now. Thank you very much and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.